Strabo says an historian is constantly facilitating. Strabo, a historian of Rome, writes that some authors are, and one author in particular, is constantly facilitating between his desire to be a philosopher and his reluctance to devote himself entirely to this profession, and who therefore succeeds in advancing only for enough to have the appearance of being a philosopher. Or of a man who has provided himself with this as a diversion from his regular work, either for his pastime or even amusement. We know about the barbarians. Facilitating throughout their lives and unable to believe it all with firm conviction, simply wander in confusion. The barbarians. Upon the death of Sisyphus, his three sons, Lindus, Asus, Chimerius, succeeded to the supreme power, and during their lifetime there came a great deluge. The Shivri was buried beneath the flood and laid waste, whereupon the three divided the land among themselves, and each of them founded a city which bore his name. More Diodorus quotes. Dionysus did not always exist. Who else? Diodorus said, according to the myth which the priests give, the gods had their origin in Crete and were led by Zeus to Panchaea at the time when he sojourned among men and was king of the inhabited earth. Zeus had an origin. He was king of men. Beyond the above-mentioned plain there was a lofty mountain which had been made sacred to the gods and is called the throne of Uranus. The throne of Uranus! And also Triphilian Olympus. Olympus, I don't know. Gus. For the myth relates that in ancient times, when Uranus was king of the inhabited earth, he took pleasure in tarrying in that place, and in surveying from its lofty top both the heavens and the stars therein. The stars of Uranus. That is the name of a rock and roll song if I've never heard one. Train, train! If Uranus was king in the earth, who's left? Uranus was supposed to be birthed from Gaia, otherwise known as dirt. The Atlanteans said in the first king was Uranus. The Atlanteans. The Egyptians held that all sorts of gods had a hand in founding their land. Diodorus makes other comments, such as for the Egyptians, say, Egypt is the only country in the whole inhabited world where there are many cities which are founded by the first gods, such as Zeus, Helios, Hermes, Apollo, Pan, and many more. Well, I went on down to the town. What other traits and traits did these gods have? They took their sisters for wives. Theodorus says, when the valor and fame of Uranus became spread abroad, Rhea, his said, angered at Ammon, strongly desired to get Uranus into her power. But being unable to carry out her desire, she forsook Ammon and departed from her brothers, the Titans, married Cronus, her brother. Oh, and hold on. Oh, we have to come back to that. Philo criticized those who believed in these sorts of gods. So a lot of this is they were real people. They were real people, but they were godified. Philo criticized those who believe in these gods. Therefore, well, let's see what Philo says. Therefore, some persons, marveling at the nature of both these worlds, have not only worshipped them in their entirety of gods, but also defined in most parts of them. I mean, for instance, the sun and the moon and the whole heaven, which without any fear or reverence, they call gods. There are alternate spellings for some things, and some things change names. And some letters were dropped, and some things called altogether are just lost or relabeled. These other men, also called Hercules, actually has a different lineage. The account which I received of this Hercules makes him one of the 12 gods. Of the other Hercules, with whom the Greeks are familiar, I could hear nothing in any part of Egypt. That the Greeks, however, those I mean who gave the sun Amphitryon that name, took the name for the Egyptians. Well, at least they're not dinosaurs, saurs and saurs names, and not the Egyptians from the Greeks, as I think clearly proved. You know, we all have our flavor of dinosaur, yeah. Among other arguments, by the fact that both the parents of Hercules, Hercules, Amphitryon, as well as Alimna, were of Egyptian origin. Again, the Egyptians disclaimed all knowledge of the name. There was a fight. Some of the Egyptians didn't like the other Egyptians. And they claimed themselves Egyptian. And more than one to group those. The Egyptians disclaim all knowledge of the names of Neptune and the Discord. And there's different times that happen too, and do not include them in the number of their gods. But had they adopted the name of any gods from the Greeks, these would have been likeliest to obtain notice. If they adopted it from the Greeks, that is. Since the Egyptians might as well practice navigation at the time, and the Greeks were also likewise, were some of them mariners, so that they would have been more likely to know the names of these gods than that of Hercules. But the Egyptian Hercules is one of their ancient gods. The Greeks and Egyptians just had a little bit different flavor of it. 17,000 years before the reign of Maius, continues Herodotus. The 12 gods were, they affirm, produced from the 8 of these 12. Hercules is one. In the wish to get these best information that I could on these matters, I made a voyage to Tyre and Phoenicia. Herodotus went to Tyre and Phoenicia. Here and there was a temple of Hercules in that place. In a conversation which I held with a priest, I inquired how long the temple had been built, and found by their answer that they too differed from the Greeks. They said that the temple was built at the same time that the city was founded, but yet the Greeks said there was a difference, said it came from Egypt, and the foundation of the city took place 2,300 years ago in Tyre. I remarked, took place 2,300 years ago in Tyre. I remarked another temple where the same god was worshipped as the Thasians. We get to those, back to those strata the thins in a little bit too. So I went on to Thasus, where I found a temple of Hercules, which had been built by the Phoenicians who colonized that island when they sailed in search of Europa. Even this to 5 generations earlier than the time when Herodotus, son of Epirus, was born in Greece. These researchers show plainly that there's an ancient god Hercules. In my opinion, those Greeks act most wisely, who build and maintain two temples of Hercules, and the one of which the Hercules worship, known by the name of Olympian, and has sacrifice offered to him as an immortal, while in the other honors paid are such as are due to a hero. I found a bookmark. That might be nice to have, but it's a bookmark. Let's see. I kind of like it anyway. 10 ways to create modern windows with scarves. All right. How to tie on a window. Oh, I don't mind if I do right there. Without pictures anyway. Got swag. That's swag. That's a different kind of swag right there. No, half and half right there. This one's a half other way. That crooked like a haircut right there. I like it. A banana peel, an orange peel. Oh, I like that one too, right there. You don't braid on one side. I got another braid in the middle. Well, now we get creative. I think I can figure it out now. But make me whereto I should gather the quest of all the lands of my province, and also throughout the soul. Let's see. A bookmark. I kind of like that one. Well, oh, good job. This one. I have to get my glasses on. A little bit right. Yeah. Where's my eye? You get more words on the page that way, though. I have an 800-page book turned into 2,000. But it's a pain in the eye to read. That just took me. Who in Barts of Dan and Javan had raised up sails as a boy. For the sons of some that Ulick, son of Lart, brought back from Troy, For the sons of some that you lick. Oh, now, what was I reading a minute ago? The stars of Uranus. On to the, for the sons of some that you lick. Who the barks of Dan and Javan had raised up, sails as a boy. For the sons brought back from Troy. I heard of the painted talking birds in gardens with fruits of gold, and Fish Island spouting fountains, and one terrible tale he told of a giant that dwelt amongst trees and descended rending in twain 3 millies that sought him with target and spear, but in fight were slain. In his hairy hands were they twisted, yea, as a stalk that is bent. On the myrtle it is gathered, so were they broken and rent. Thus we come to the Curjohato, and moored at the long-fared wharf, whence Ham and his camels athirst seek the tree-built homes of the dwarf, and beheld the Basra above it, yet setting out our feet therein. For cannon foot and Loveland be wholly bound into sin. But Bukai spake of their princes, and how when a Shaphat died, his wives were brought to his burning, his slaves to be crucified. As Ashtaroth and of Tanith, queen harlots of cruel name, whom the phony brought from the east, into their land they came. And of Baal, whom Yahweh hated, he dwelleth amongst you still. Ye sons of Aaron, I know ye, I know that your hands work ill. Root up the groves from among you, cast down his seats on the tors. His fires are destroyers of gladness, his feasting my soul abhors. Hear ye, that which he spake, the prophet of God, when he stood betwixt Baruch and Buka, and stretched on the land his rod. Baal shall be broken, he said, yet he shall rise as the sun. Red and gold is his rising, swiftly his course he shall run. Unto the isles of the west, unto the uttermost sea, unto the land of the silky, surely his border shall be. Nimni kneeleth his camel, fat as his waxen and full. The wealth of many waters had swollen the hide of the bull. A son is born him in season, yea, as a tiger's whelp. To the west doth he leap, to the north, to the south. There is none that may help. By his teeth are men slain, and his claws they are rent, and the chief of his prey are the cubs of his wolf, who mourns not, but ever crouching at bay. In the blood of her cubs he is sick, he is blind, he is drunken, he falls. Hear it, ye gods of the heathen, hear it, for far stretching walls. The wrath of the she-wolf is sated, your place is spread as a plain. Your altars are blood, altars of blood are cast down, your fires into Baal are vain. The Tusky of Rome burn you, their host has come out of the north. As on Nimrod and Asher, Edom and Tyre, the curse has gone forth. Thy sons shall few and scattered, thy daughters carried to shame. Thy walls be broken forever, thy temple set to the flame.
The west was blood as he spake, the sky was black on the land. The blast of a furnace sped from the trackless ocean of sand, bearing the wrath of Baal, and smote on the prophet's mouth. But the hand of the Lord was with us to turn our way from the south. Our sails were rent, and the men of the vessel cursed by us by names of their gods, but feared the prophet who called out of heaven its flame. Fire and hailstones and thunders, and hills from the tossing sea. But I stood beside him and feared not, for helpers of heaven were we. 7 days did I stand beside him, with Bucci the pilot of Dan, and the eyes of the phony hated, yet hopped in the wave-worn man. As the child and the prophet only, for Baruch kept watch below, by the stone, and prayed upon it to comfort my woman's woe. Whither we went we knew not, but Bucci stood by the helm, whilst the waves sped hungry after, but dared not to overwhelm the prophet of God and his daughters of hope, who stood by his side, that the name of the Lord might stand, and his promise be magnified. The phone died down, and blessed us when, now on the 7th day, the sea was at Sabbath stillness, as we entered a little bay. By the mouth of an unknown river that ran from east unto west, and lay Tony beside the shore, where we anchored and lay at rest.